Yeah, we got a decent lineup. I agree.
Some real hip hop, history coming out of Newark.
Yeah,
But things were kind of rough for you growing up.
facts. That rough and rough period growing up. Yeah,
I guess you were 13 when you first saw somebody get killed.
yeah. Word.
How was that as a teenager? I mean, barely a teenager.
Shit, it's real life. You feel me? Like it's what's going on. It's just you feel me? Like it might sound crazy, better late than never. You feel me? Like seeing it, or not better late than never, but seeing it sooner than later, rather. You feel me? Like, I rather have seen it than seeing it when I'm 25, 26. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know. Feel me? It changed. It changed the way you look at shit. Say that much. Mm. It changed the way you look at shit.
Now, the person that got killed was someone you knew, or just a random.
Yeah, nah, we born from the hood.
Okay, then right in front of you.
Yeah, some crazy shit like that. Shit happen. You feel me? Like you look up, nigga laid out, type shit like that type. I mean,
Okay.
like, stop though. You look like once they stop, you feel me? Look, that shit crack motherfuckers. You feel me? You go look and shit. You like you feel me? Shit open like fuck coming out of his mouth. Shit, clear everything like that.
Can you hear me? Let's see. Is that got BM Fan? We got Toxic Femininity. Whoa. That's interesting. We got I'm fine. Let me try to get the patrons online here. No, I don't want to edit that. How do I write? How do I make posts? Patreon has the worst. What's up, James Marshall? M Death Fan in the house. We'll be going live in a second here. I just need to figure out how to post on this platform now. Here we go. See what I can do here. Says post new. There it is. All right, now I'm figuring it out. Fireside time. Publish now. All right, that should be everything. What's up, playa? Evan in the house, Jay in the house. What y'all up to? What's up, playa? So what y'all doing? What y'all up to? I'm surprised nobody's asked the Cardi B situation. I thought that would be... I'm going to play... I actually... New Amar song just dropped. Yo, that was a good look, Jay, on the Rammstein thing. That was good on the Rammstein catch, my guy. Because that video was huge for us. Good Lord. Y'all's popular long legs on that gas feel about. What's up, everybody? Okay, so I just saw the video with Cardi B that everybody's talking about. I probably have a different opinion than everybody else, but apparently a lot of people care about Cardi B. It seems to me that she was talking about working as a stripper, and then dudes would proposition her, and then she would drug them and then take their money. And people are comparing that to Bill Cosby. I mean, honestly, to me, it's not the same thing. Because a woman who's a stripper is already being exploited. So it seems to me that what's happening is this young lady's already being exploited, and the guy wants to take it further by being a stripper wasn't he wanted to have sex with her, and so she turned to him, and that's somehow what happened with Bill Cosby, which yeah, I mean it's theft. It definitely is theft. Let's try this again. Well, sure, she could have said no to the dudes, but she wanted to exploit them. And it just seems to me that people are angry at Cardi because she didn't just sit there and allow herself to get exploited. They're angry at her because she took part in the exploitation. I don't really see how that's a problem. Yeah, I hear you about making stupid people famous, but Cardi B doesn't seem to be a stupid person to me. I mean, I don't know, MDef fan. Like, if you found a way to make millions of dollars by your artwork, please let me know. But I don't think it's. I always chuckle when people talk about these people like they're idiots. It's like, okay, they found a way to manipulate social media in such a way as to make a nice living for themselves and their family after them, but they're stupid. Well, I wish I was as stupid as her. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. She went about it the wrong way. I mean, I agree. Obviously, I'm not going to co-sign anybody. I'm not going to co-sign any woman drugging a dude up and taking his money. And most of the reasons I wouldn't co-sign that is because that's not safe. You do that to the wrong dude and they roll up on you. Like, dudes aren't looking at you like, oh, you're a woman. And they got. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of... And, you know, she came from literally the same area I came from in the Bronx. I'm talking about like Fordham Road. And I'd hear shots every night at Fordham Road. I'd be out there. My girlfriend lived right there on Valentine Avenue. They got hitters over there. So I wouldn't recommend any woman do that because, you know, women have been killed for less over there. But to compare this to Bill Cosby is beyond me. I just think that's silly. I could tell this fireside's going to be a mess. Yeah, it's the same thing with the Cash Me Outside girl. You can call her what you want, but there have been a lot of silly people on Dr. Phil, but she made a living for herself. So I don't know how we're defining stupid. What do you mean by stupid? How are they stupid? They found a way to monetize public fascination with them and their story. I don't think that that's stupid. Are they a good role model is a completely different story. What's up, Gersock? Yeah, I'm not really looking for role models for my kids. To be honest with you, I'm my role model to my kids. And if they're looking at YouTube to find their role models, then, you know, we got a problem, I think. I don't depend on any people. To be honest with you, a lot of these people function as precautionary tales to my kids. You know, a lot of them function as, okay, this is what you don't do. I don't understand, you know. Well, Death fan. M. Deathman, I'd like to I'd like to give you a public service announcement that capitalism is not the only system wherein an individual can generate wealth for themselves. It's not like everybody else on the planet doesn't have a small business. It's only, you got to fly to America to create a small business. So capitalism isn't the only economic system wherein you can create a business and generate wealth for yourself, my guy. Did they find a way to monetize, or did somebody else monetize them? I mean, it's 6.5 dozen in my opinion, because there's nobody, you know, it's because we're not in a communist or socialist context. It's not like 100% of the income is coming to the worker. It's not like Cardi B is taking home 100% of the wealth that she generates. So, you know, it doesn't matter what the economic system is. Yeah, I mean, adults, I mean, yeah, I mean, for me, I feel very strongly and very confidently that my sons and my daughters look up to me, and I'm their main source of, I'm the main person that they want to emulate and model. You know, I'm not looking at, I hope that my daughters aren't looking at Cardi B or anybody else to be a role model. I hope that they're looking at Sori as their role model. So, you know, but to me, what it looks like is she was a stripper, which is an inherently exploitative enterprise to be involved in. And the individual, on top of being able to consume her with his eyes, wanted to actually consume her body. And she turned the tables on him and exploited him before he was able to exploit her. You know, it's terrible all around. But if you've ever been in the inner city, I mean, it's kind of dog eat dog. It's kind of law of the jungle. So, you know, it is what it is. I don't feel like that is true. If your sons and daughters don't rebel, it means you didn't do anything meaningful. Yeah, I don't know. Tell me that when you've got kids, Ben. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, Silver. Well, yeah, I do. It's like this thing with the Kardashians. People say the Kardashians are stupid. You know, one of them is like a billionaire. She's like 22 years old. That's not a stupid person to me. I don't know what this instinct is with everybody to say that that people that they disagree with or whatever are stupid. Or if you don't like them, I mean, okay, you can say you don't like them, but maybe I'm just over literalizing it. Find a different adjective, but we can't say they're stupid. If they are, I'd like to be stupid like them. Well, yeah, I mean, of course kids are going to rebel. I mean, of course my kids are rebellious, you know, like my older brother basically functioned as the father figure in my household. And, you know, I rebelled against him, you know, because I had to. It's, you know, at some point you got to kind of stretch your wings and fly, you know. You know, you got to be an adult yourself, and you know. So I get it. You got to kind of push off of your parents, but I don't think everybody necessarily needs to. Yes, James, it is absolutely exploitations when two adults agree to exchange goods for services. Absolutely. This I've long said that the concept of consent is way too low of a bar to decide whether or not an action is moral or not. Now, obviously, I'm a Christian, so as a Christian, consent is not enough, especially in regards to human sexuality, to determine whether or not something is right or wrong. Now, if a person is in a situation like Cardi B, where it's either sell your body or go hungry, I guess on one level you can say she consented, but on another level there are societal exigencies that push her to that type of a career move. And if you actually see the video in context, you can see that she's crying towards the end of the video and saying, you don't know the sacrifices I had to make to get here. So people can call it consensual all they want, but what happens is many times women get put in very desperate circumstances. They have to sell their bodies in order to get out of those circumstances. And then the men that take advantage of these women assuage their guilt by saying it was consensual. Well, in one degree it was consensual, but another situation is we all know that the vast majority of women in the sex industry, if they could accomplish what they wanted to accomplish without being in the sex industry, they wouldn't be in it. So it just seems to me that the backlash against Cardi B is that women are just supposed to be taken advantage of and exploited, and when women are doing the exploitation, now all of a sudden there's a problem. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, I have very little pity for the dudes that Cardi B robbed. I have very little pity for them. And I tip my hat to her for using that money for something productive instead of doing the ignorant thing that most hood rats do, which is buy a bunch of Jordans and go to the club and buy out the bar for everybody and floss and show off how much money they have. She actually did it for something productive. She used it as an investment in herself. She bet on herself and she won. You know, I would have liked for her to have gotten that startup money in legal ways, but how is that different from Jay-Z starting his record label from drug money? I mean, a lot of, you know, marginalized people, how do you think the Italian mafia started up? A lot of these dudes came from Italy, and they were not getting any opportunity to have careers and build wealth. And so they created crime families, which are now glorified in Hollywood. They created crime families. They built their empires with dirty money. They washed the money and went legitimate. And now a lot of them are living as millionaires for generations to come. How is that any different from Cardi B? The only difference is, to my knowledge, Cardi hasn't killed anyone to amass her wealth or create her empire. You know, there are a lot of people that build their wealth on dirty money and exploiting other people. And that's because we live in a society, especially in the inner city, that doesn't even think about small business grants for people. And, you know, I know a local woman around here that used to actually work with me in another world. She was getting $9 an hour. She got herself a small business loan 2 years ago, and right now she's literally a millionaire. Literally. And she's 27, 28 years old. All she needed was a little bump for a small business loan, which she got because she was a single mom. And she was able to do something really productive with that money. She invested in herself. She created a business, and now she's got generational wealth for her family. I think that's a good thing. Now, if Cardi B would have been afforded that opportunity to be able to put into her studio time, then she wouldn't have had to do what she did. It just so happens that the demographics in this area are a little bit different from the demographics where Cardi B came up. And I'll let you figure out what that means. So, I mean, so drug a dude to even the odds. Well, I think Cardi B is a symptom of a larger sickness in the inner city. But beyond that, Sean, my question is, first of all, I don't look at these dudes as victims. These are predators who were exploiting a desperate young woman who got the tables turned on them. I think what she did was morally wrong, and I think what they intended to do was morally worse. So there are no victims in that situation. It's not the same thing as a woman starstruck by Bill Cosby who then gets her drink spiked and then, ends up in a hotel somewhere, not remembering her name. That is that with Cardi B. Well, yeah, if you put yourself in a situation with a stripper and you get robbed, shame on you. If you get robbed and drugged, shame on her. Well, what do you think she's going to do, Sean? You think she's going to rob you like straight up 1D? You think she's going to go mano a mano with you? It's not like she's gonna to go one-on-one with you, bruh. She's got to drug you to even the score. Because as a man, you're inherently going to be stronger than her. So I'm still not getting what the issue is here. It's my right to object. It's my right to object big female celebrities for using their bodies to gain fame, and you're going to question it? I don't really know what that question is. What does that question mean? Does the same go for male strippers drugging and robbing women for the same purpose? No, Jay. The same does not go. There are not... we have a society that is structured for male advancement. How many female rappers are there? And secondly, men are in a bunch of different categories. I don't like equal across the. I don't believe that women should be drafted for the military. I think that's terrible. I think that's a terrible idea. I don't believe that women should be open season for a draft. I don't even want a woman in a combat MOS, much less getting drafted against her will. No. Well, of course it's a double standard. Of course it's a double standard. Hey, everybody get offline, please. Well, I don't think it's okay, period. I said explicitly that it's morally wrong that she did that. Thou shalt not steal. So I think it's morally wrong that she did that. What I'm saying is the person she did it to was in a morally worse situation than she was. So in my mind, there are no victims in that situation. It'd be different if she had a gang of hood rats and jumped some dude on the side of the street, drugged him, and took his money. This is a guy that wanted to exploit her body. So this is a guy that assumed that she was in a desperate situation, which she was, and was going to use his capital to exploit her desperate situation by exploiting her body. So if he gets robbed, I got very little pity for this guy. Next to nothing. But if you ask me, is what Cardi B wrong? Of course it was wrong. She shouldn't have done it. But then you got to ask the next question: what are the societal exigencies that put her in a situation to do that? That's my question. I know. I know we definitely need to do that. A combat MOS, Ian, is I think it's missional operational specialty. And it basically means I don't believe that women should be in situations where they get put on the front lines in war. I think that's a terrible idea. I don't think it's good. But I believe in traditional gender roles. I believe that men have an obligation as protectors in a given society. And that I don't believe that, and I believe that men are historically should be called upon to make those ultimate sacrifices. I don't believe women should be called upon to make those sacrifices. So there are a lot. If you believe that, then there are going to be a lot of double standards. If I'm walking down the street and I see a man slap a woman across the face, I'm going to intervene. If I walk down the same street and I see a woman slap a dude in the face, I'm going to say, sorry, bruv. And I'm going to keep walking. Because they're not the same. Men and women are not the same. And as much as people want to flatten out the idea that men and women are the same, they're just not. And I think we just need to be honest. I think most of the dudes in this room would probably say the same thing. If you saw a dude slapping a woman on the street, you're probably going to get involved. You're not going to say, well, it's the exact same thing if a woman slaps a man across the face. It's not the same thing. They're both wrong, but one is more wrong than the other. That's all. Women don't get any say once the front is in your hometown and soldiers start to... Oh, I agree. I agree with you. And I understand that there are it's argued pretty successfully that the most dangerous sniper in the world was a woman. Women are actually better at the range than men are generally. Heart rate issues and stuff like that. But I'm talking about the principle. My understanding of being a man is that God has placed you in a certain type of situation. And you have a certain type of role as a man in a given society, and you're called to do that. You're called to execute that role, and you can't pass it off to a woman. You can't tell a woman, go fight my battles for me. I just think that's not how we're designed. Sori is we've got about 80 videos in queue because we've been on the shooting marathon. So she's got a ton of videos to shoot. She's already getting Braxton Hicks. I don't think we're gonna make it out of April. So she's editing the hell out of those videos. That's what she's doing. Yeah, I think it's a terrible idea of putting women in the front lines. I think it's terrible. I think if we whittled that down to like a high school situation, everybody would see how ridiculous it is. Like, let's say you go to Truman High School with me, so I got a gang of 5 dudes, you got a gang of 5 dudes, and dudes have guns and box cutters, which is, what we were dealing with. So dudes have guns and box cutters, and we're gonna meet at the bridge, at 6 o'clock after school. And then how ridiculous would it be if we all brought our girlfriends and put them up in the front and told them to duke it out? That's ridiculous. Nobody would accept that. Everybody would instinctively know that that's stupid. Right? So it's obvious that there are some things that are generally men's domain and some things that are a women's domain. And so when you have a woman who's in a desperate situation and needs a small business loan and is not going to be able to get one, because the chances of a woman of color as a 17 or 18-year-old getting a $10,000 small business loan are next to nothing. She went out and found a way to get it done. It was immoral. It was terrible. It was wrong. She shouldn't have done it. But I don't feel a scintilla of pity for the individuals that fell for that situation because their motivation was to take advantage of this desperate girl situation. So, the exploiter got exploited. It happens. I would advise everyone on the planet not to do it because it's not the right thing to do, and it's an extremely dangerous game to play. But see, Cardi, she had a goal and she had an out. Her goal was, I'm going to do this as long as I have to in order to establish myself, but once that's done, I'm done. Oh, I know that women are conscripted in Israel. I understand that. I've never said that that women don't. But the question is, should they? Secondly, Israel lives right next door to its enemies. Like, they literally share a border. That's not what happens in the United States. And third, I don't think it's a good play for the Israelis to use women in combat MOSs. I think it's a terrible play. I think it's a bad idea. No, I don't believe women belong in the kitchen. My wife spends very little time in the kitchen, although she'd like to. But, you know, I'm relying on her to help me run our small business. So she doesn't get to do a lot of kitchen time, even though she likes doing it. But it's a silly idea that unless you flatten out the gender distinctions and act like there are no distinctions between genders, unless you do that, you believe that women belong in the kitchen. No, I just don't believe they belong in combat MOSs. I believe it's my job as a man to lay down my life for my household. I don't believe that if a knock comes onto the door at 1 o'clock in the morning, that I'm supposed to go, "Hey, babe, I did it yesterday. You do it today." I don't believe that. I believe that I go down there 100% of the time. That's what I believe. I don't believe, but that doesn't mean that women belong in the kitchen. It just means that it's my particular role to be a protector. You know what else? I don't believe that my anyway. Why did you choose to show Sori metal instead of rap? That's a very, very good question. The reason is I think probably metal for me was more about the emotions and about the heart and soul of things, which I felt like her and I would be able to connect a lot deeper on. The stuff that happens in rap, I could actually relate to a lot of it, but it was a completely different world for her. See what I'm saying? So she wasn't going to be able to understand Quiet Storm. Like, she'd be able to understand it, but like not be able to relate to it. And I wanted something her and I could relate on. And I felt like the emotions that get talked about in metal are more accessible for me and her versus just rap, where it would just basically be me saying, yeah, that happens. You know, when P talks about going through the emotions of gun holding, long shotgun down my pants leg limping, like she's never had that experience in her life. See what I'm saying? So, the songs that I write, the rap songs that I write, I mean, I obviously show her, and when I'm creating them, I'm like, hey, what do you think about this and that? We're working on a video right now. I'm sitting on it. I don't know if I'm ever going to release it, but so my personal raps I show her because those are more than just your standard, but that's why I chose metal instead of rap. Yeah, we learned a ton. We hit our 1-year anniversary yesterday, and we've just learned. It's pretty. You guys will see it. There was a new metal song that I was like, man, that sounds like an Iron Maiden type riff. And then I did some digging, and sure enough, they basically lifted an Iron Maiden riff. So I was pretty happy about. Like, I love being able to trace the history of something. So that was a bigger thing to me, was just to think about the influence that a lot of these bands, these old bands, have on the modern day. So that when I was listening to K-Rock in New York, they were standing on the shoulders of these guys, and sometimes very literally just lifting, licks and riffs from those guys. And I just, that fascinates me. That sort of, I'm big on ancestry, as you guys can tell. So like that whole thing of listening to Tony Iommi and all this, and like knowing that, man, this riff was around since the 70s. The 70s, like what in the world? And it was just recycled, and that's what I was jamming to in the 90s and early 2000s. It's a crazy idea to me. Cardi B's language in the instance that is in the news is transphobic. I don't know what you mean. You're gonna have to explicate that for me, Tina. I have a ticket to give away to the Cradle show tomorrow in Boston if someone is here and wants one, a fan of the channel. Dang, we're gonna be at that show tomorrow. Phoebe. I was just talking to Lindsay about a couple hours ago. We're gonna be at that show tomorrow. That sucks you're not gonna be there. Hip-hop is the manifestation of original gangs. Sin, I mean. Oh, man. No, they shouldn't do those either. Standards are lowered to accommodate them, thus weakening those services. What are you talking about, Danny? Do you have plans to do the Operation Mindcrime record? Yes, we do. Hey! Every world problem is solved by listening to Ghosts. Thanks, Mikkel. We actually did listen to Ghosts. We put that up. We just put it up today. Oh, I didn't see that part because the video I watched didn't mention that line. But yeah. But at the same time though, Tina, she said nigga this, nigga that in the video too, and technically it's a slur. So I don't know if she has an understanding, because I'll tell you, I didn't know until I really got in with some of my LGBT friends. I didn't know that the term tranny was a slur. So I don't know if she understood what she was actually saying. You see what I'm saying? How do you feel about metal going pop all the time? I'd need more of an example. I don't know what you mean by that. Vin, tell everyone why hip-hop died on March 7th. It was actually March 9th, Sean. And the only reason I know that is because there are two, the cannabis rhyme. That was the worst rhyme I ever heard in my life because the greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th. And then, Biggie died on March 9th. And that really changed a lot of things hip-hop-wise, I think. B.I.G., that was pretty much the end of the story rapping. Pretty much. Big's talent was crazy. Like, to this day, that Notorious Thugs verse was just insane. I mean, Biggie, in my opinion, is the greatest rapper of all time, and I don't really think it's close. But yeah, hip-hop definitely took a turn on that. But that's actually what made me, start focusing on rap. For whatever reason, I started writing, so many of them, and then it got to the point where I'd be on the train, and I would be, my other hands were preoccupied, so I didn't have anything to write. So then I started memorizing stuff in my head and then, whatever. But yeah, when Big died, man, that was pretty terrible. It's pretty crazy. I didn't feel bad at all when Pac died. But when Big died, I don't know. It was just crazy. And we had just landed in New York a week before. So yeah. Do you like anyone in the rap game? I like Montana 300. I like FBG Duck. I'm really feeling him right now. The Chicago rap scene to me is, it's funny. It's like I always say, generally in New York, it's rappers who want to be gangsters. They're not really gangbangers. They're just rapping about it. But in Chicago, it's bona fide gangsters who are trying to be rappers, which means the product really isn't that good. A lot of them really are not that good at all. A lot of the rap I hear now, I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are, we're in the new metal era of rap right now. That's as basically as I could put it. But so I do like what's his name though? His name escapes me. He's from Chicago. He's J. Cole. I like him a lot. I think Cole is a good rapper. Yeah, I like Kendrick. I think Kendrick's the man, but I think Kendrick is overrated a little bit. I think lyrically, Cardi B lyrically is nice. Like, people don't realize you got to be really, really intelligent to be a good rapper. That's why a lot of them aren't real gangsters, because you've got to be really brilliant with words. You've got to have a large vocabulary, and you've got to find ways. You've got to find tricky, creative ways to make stuff happen. And to do that requires a lot of intelligence. You sit and listen to a Tupac interview, you listen to a Jay-Z interview. These are really intelligent people. So I think lyrically, Cardi B is good. I mean, but if you get a rapper out of the Bronx, they're generally going to be good. And I'm not saying that because I'm from the Bronx. I'm just saying that because there was so much competition with rap in the Bronx where I came up. I mean, it was insane. Like, you had girls, you had everybody, and if you could rhyme, and then you were the top dog, and then, whatever. So, I was looking at some of the comments on the Breathe video, and like, people were like, whoa, dude, like, you can actually rap. And I'm like, I was a dime a dozen back there. You know what I'm saying? Obviously I thought I was the best, but I was really a dime a dozen. There's really nothing special about me back there. But so I think I respect Cardi a lot. I don't really, the mumble rappers and all that, like, I don't really pay a lot of attention to them, to be honest with you. Like, I couldn't even tell you who they are. Yep, I was born in Jamaica, for sure. Bone Thugs. I love Bone Thugs. Bone Thugs are my favorite group. I love Bone Thugs more than I love Wu-Tang, which is crazy, right? Because they're from New York. But Bone Thugs, I think Bone Thugs did a lot more to change the landscape of rap than any other group, including Wu-Tang Clan, and I don't even think it's close. Bone Thugs brought all the stuff with Drake, where you have guys rapping and singing on the same record, doing it at the same time. That's all Bone Thugs. Bone Thugs started that. So to me, they had the biggest Migos, that whole style. Bone Thugs, like, to me, Bone Thugs are the most influential group in rap, period. Like, they're the Black Sabbath, maybe the Korn of rap. There's so many other genres that were birthed out of their style that I think they're just crazy. How's the Vid and Sori metal track coming along? Well, we're shooting a video for the other song, and I don't even know if I'm gonna release it. But the other one is good. I've got all the riffs settled, and I'm trying to make it like a 2-minute song. But yeah. Your thoughts about ghostwriters? Being from New York City, I have a hard time with the ghostwriting thing. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand that. I don't understand how you could show your face in after you've had a ghostwriter. As a rapper, like, that's your thing. That would be like going on stage to a Metallica show, and then you're watching Kirk Hammett play, and then somehow you get behind the scenes and you realize that there's really another guy in the back playing, and Kirk Hammett's guitar was off the entire time, and he was just basically air guitaring while the real guy was in the back. Like, that is how I look at ghostwriters as far as, like, being a rapper. Like, you're out. No respect for you at all. Big Pun. Yeah, Big Pun was... Man, I wish he would have had more time, because Big Pun was the first rapper I heard where I was like, this guy's going to give Big a run for his money. I think if Biggie would have ran into Big Pun, and that was actually really, really possible because Fat Joe and Puff were working together, that Pun would have forced Biggie to bring his game up even another notch. And to this moment, I'm not particularly sure if Big would have been able, if Pun would have been able to. He was only 24, 25 when he died, just like Big. Like, man, give those guys another 5 years, man. They would have done something incredible. So yeah. Well, I don't know how you know that Cardi has ghostwriters. I'm not disputing you. I'm just saying, where are you getting that from? Whoa, Mark Rodeo. I don't know about that. I don't know about Kanye being the best. I don't know. I haven't listened to a lot enough. Kyle Lane in the house. Good to talk to you, buddy. Big L would challenge Biggie. I don't know. I always put Big L in like the Mace category. Because their styles are very... Big L, Mace, and Fabulous all kind of had the similar style. I wouldn't put Big L as a challenger to Biggie. I just wouldn't. Mos Def, I got a lot of respect for Mos Def. For sure. For sure. For sure. But Cardi, you know... It's so funny too, because Sori's not a fan of Cardi B. I did a remix. I did a remix to Bodak Yellow about a year ago, and I just did a freestyle over that beat. And ever since then, Sori's not a fan of Cardi B at all. So that's probably another reason she's out doing editing and not even doing this, because. If do I think that Big and Pac would have been legendary as they are if they wouldn't have. Okay, we're back. Do I think that Big and Pac would have been as legendary as they are if they wouldn't have died? No. No, I don't. You know, like, if Eminem would have died, if Eminem would have got shot and killed during the Ja Rule beef, right? And if he would have died in that context, then Eminem would be talked about like Biggie and Tupac. The reason now Eminem is no longer in the conversation is because his last two records were just, I'm not going to say they were trash, but they were not Eminem, like Eminem level crazy good. They just weren't. So now what's happened is we've been able to see him fall off. You see what I'm saying? So now Eminem's fallen off. He's not that good anymore. He's not in that conversation anymore. But if he would have died during the Ja Rule beef, that to me, when he was probably at the height of his craft, and then he would have gone out in some blaze of glory, then he would have been on Mount Rushmore forever, right? That's one of the reasons why I respect Jay, because Jay never really, really, really like had a massive speaking or of his stuff. There was a time when it was better than Z, but it's like a whole body of work. Eminem's bad records are really, really, really bad. Jay-Z or Jay-Z or Nas? Jay-Z. I think Nas, One Mic is to me the best song in all of hip hop history, all time. All time, One Mic is the best song ever. But I think Dead Presidents 2 was the second best song ever, which was written by Jay-Z, but it's got Nas in the hook. So, but overall, I think Jay is a better rapper because I'm looking at overall body of work. If you're looking at overall body of work, you got to give it to Jay-Z. You have to. There's no other rapper that's even close to his style. But you know, Cardi, I think is I love Cardi. I love her to death. I think it's probably, there's not a lot of objectivity with Cardi because she came from Fordham Road and she came from the Bronx, and like we literally were probably in the same area together at the same time. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I know that I'm not objective about, you know, how I feel about Cardi B, but at the same time, I've been pretty consistent with this stuff, that men and women are different, and that a man's job is to protect, and that's our function and our role in society. And so, you know, I get it. What's going on, BM fan? Yeah, I agree, David. I agree. Which is one of the reasons we didn't do a rap reaction channel, because, you know, all the bragging about all the money and killing and all that. I mean, there's only so much you can talk about. There's not a lot of rappers that are consistently dealing with the existential ramifications of the world we live in, which you would figure growing up in the ghetto that you would have a lot of those things, because you've seen death, you've seen people killed, you've killed people, you've lost friends. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can talk about introspectively, and then it just devolves to, I'm going to shoot you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, it's like, come on. Yes, I did. Bro, I was just about to send you a video for you to shoot a video on the Green New Deal, and we just upload it to Middle America so you could be a consultant, but I decided against it. I am currently looking into Brexit. Part of me wants to, I'm looking into, maybe interviewing a newscaster from Europe, or interviewing a YouTube personality from Europe, so that they can give us the real skinny on it. So I'm looking at that too, because I definitely think that there are some correlations between what's going on with Brexit and what's going on with Trump in America. And so I definitely think it's an important topic. For sure. Hey, Zonia in the house. What's good? Kyle Lane in the house. Yeah, bro. I think, Kyle, listen, we're I'm not going to tell you that. It's a surprise. I got a surprise cooking for you, Kyle. Let me just say it that way. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with, you know, we were about to shoot a video about AOC, and literally we had the cameras up, we had shot the introductory statement, and then I just killed it. I said, Sori, just kill it. You know, because there is so much left-wing, right-wing misinformation about her that I just didn't feel confident that we had the data ready. And, you know, she's a very popular person that can pop in your algorithm and get you a bunch of hits, hundreds of views, you know, just by mentioning her name. But that's not the point of the channel, you know what I mean? Like, I got to make sure that the facts are there. I'm not a famous YouTube person, but I could become a stripper and rob some people. I don't want to see that, bro. I want to see Sarcast as the, but you would be dropping that knowledge on him while you were doing it, though, Peter. You know what I mean? Like you'd be talking about like the universe and all that while you're around him. Yeah, I think AOC. I mean, it can go either way, but it's obvious to me that Republicans are scared to death of this young lady. So they're scared to death of her. She's extremely powerful, and of all the new progressives between Ilhan Omar and the other, I forgot the other one, the one that was talking about we're gonna impeach the motherfucker or whatever. Like, she hasn't made any really major missteps. I don't think Ilhan made any missteps either, but she messed with the wrong lobby. That's obvious. But, yeah, so she's been able to kind of dodge a lot of the arrows shot at her, and it's obvious to me that Republicans are scared to death of her. So, you can rap about it, but you won't get a record deal. This isn't 1989. Well, that's the thing, is that a lot of these, you know, now because of social media, you can make the record labels come to you. You know, back in the day, there were no distribution platforms, but now, I mean, shoot, you know, write a song, shoot a video, spend some money on the studio time, spend some money on the shooting, and then tell Lost in Vegas to review your song. Pay the $700-800 that it costs for them to review a song, and now you've got 500,000 people that are just exposed to your music. See what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot different now if you know how to manipulate social media. It's Autism Awareness Month in the UK. No, it's not a thing in the US, Ian, because silly people in the US are too busy infecting their kids with measles just so they could avoid them getting autism. Excuse me for my short temper, but it's crazy in America right now with this anti-vax stuff, bro. We're about to shoot a video on it because it's bringing up a bunch of questions. But no, I don't think there's any Autism Awareness Month, but I'm glad that there is in the UK. Are you worried about Article 13? No. I'm not worried about Article 13 at all. Like, not even a little bit. Our 15-month plans and aims and objectives, I mean, I can't talk about it right now, but I'm not worried about it. Yes, we do. We do. We do need to talk about Article 13 in depth. I'm waiting for Sarcast to shoot a very thoughtful, you know, the Middle America style, thoughtful video with sources and all that good jazz. Well, yeah, I didn't say that Article 13 wouldn't affect me. I just said that I'm not worried about it, is what I'm saying. Yes, Seth, I mean, to be fair, a lot of the anti-vax stuff is not only just about autism. Like, I get it. But the main one that everybody talks about is autism. You know? And to me, it's like, I don't care. I'd be glad if Orion comes out autistic. Great. You know? Just gives me another skill set as a parent. And it makes his brothers and sisters have to be more mindful of other people. You know, all the autistic people I've ran into are some of the sweetest people in the world, Ian included. Ian, to be honest with you, I don't want to make you feel weird, but it's one of the reasons that instead of doing the marathon video shoots that, you know, we're supposed to do because we're not completely done yet, instead of doing that, I'm doing firesides. And a lot of it has to do with wanting to see Ian because I haven't talked to him in a while. So, you know. Zucker is Sori being toxic. No, Gershok, I don't worry about a lot of things. Like, that's the thing is I don't worry about a lot of things. Not a lot of things worry me. So, we've got, we never wrote into our business model that we were going to be shooting reaction videos in 5 years. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff with social media and things like that are just leveraging, as Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, leveraging attention. And you have to know that, whether it's Article 13 or people just getting tired of reaction videos, you've got to be able to operate in such a way that you've got something that is flexible and that can bend with the times. See what I'm saying? So I can't say everything yet because every deal isn't finalized, but it's not something I'm worried about. That's also true. I'm not worried about the black mold in the bathroom. What's up, Bruce Leroy? No, I don't. There's just a lot of stuff that I just don't worry about. And there are reasons for that. I've had certain types of life experiences, but yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm not worried about. And YouTube does crazy stuff, like, so the stuff's happening on Sori's channel where nobody can comment because one YouTuber decided, like, it's crazy stuff. So if you're like completely relying on YouTube only to be full-time in social media, it's very, very precarious. You got to have you got to spread out, man. Why worry? We're all going to die anyway. Let the mold kill the kids. You're hilarious. Of course, call in, Ian. I told you. I shot this thing so I could hang out with you, buddy. So, of course. I'm going to see... Yeah, you got to diversify. I'm going to see Cradle of Filth tomorrow. I was wondering, and maybe you've covered this before, but what convinced you of post-mill? If you weren't post-mill, do you think you'd be more inclined to pre-mill or on-mill? If I wasn't post-mill, I'd be on-mill, which is what I was before I became post-mill. Pre-mill, we were all raised as pre-mill dispies, right? But, once I really, really started reading the Bible, I think it's very difficult to hold that position. Speaker off. I want my speaker on because I got to hear my buddy. Hold on.
Hello?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Vin, how's it going?
Hey, it's Ian. Ian Aspie, ladies and gentlemen. What's up, brother, man?
I wanted to call in partly because I haven't spoken to you in ages. I've been really unlucky with missing firesides and whatnot.
I know.
So, how's it going, my man?
Missing you, bro. It's going good. I'm looking at our board. We got this board where we've got we've got I think like 70 videos like backlogged right now. We're supposed to get to 120. So we're almost there.
Jeez, man. You need a rest or something, man.
Well, the crazy thing is like this is the rest, right? Like hanging out with you guys and just chilling and just talking, like it relaxes me, so appreciate it.
I can't believe you get to go and see his Cradle of Filth tomorrow, man. I won't lie. I know it's an ugly emotion, but I'm still jealous.
Bro, if there was any way possible I could have took you, man, I definitely would have, bro.
No, for sure. It's just such a good brand. Anyway, I partly just wanted to ring in and say hey, and also I just wanted to put something quickly out there because it's about Autism Awareness Month, which I think is a good idea. I'm all behind it because I'm all for raising autism awareness. So the one thing I wanted to throw out there, if you're doing any sort of Google searches or looking into autism, if any of you fancy doing so, Be very suspicious of websites that refer to it with the word disease, because every current person in the field has moved past that, because disease, by its definition, implies something that can be contracted or caught, and it is scientifically proven that autism cannot. You are autistic from inception to birth to life. You know, that like nothing. There's nothing that can happen to you. I covered this when I rang in about it last time.
Yeah. Well, you had your sources
also,
and all that shit, my guy.
Sorry?
You had your sources and all that shit.
Yeah, well, I was kind of pissed off at the Trump statement. You know, I'm always careful about commenting on foreign politics, but that was nothing to do with politics. He was making a statement, and I could prove it was untrue. And I was like, nah, fuck that noise. Because that's exactly the sort of reason why autism awareness is so close to my heart. I don't want to step on your toes, but do you mind if I give a shout out to another channel? Is that okay?
Oh, for sure.
There's another channel I'm also a subscriber and a Patreon of, called Agony Auti. Her name is Sarah, and she's one of my autistic sisters, and she's one of my heroes, actually, because she is the voice of autism awareness at the minute. She tours the country and giving speeches and attending various functions, sharing her knowledge on the subject. And she also has her own YouTube channel where she talks about various aspects of autism, like what autism is, what stimming is, what the various comorbid conditions can be. She has a video about anxiety, another one about depression, which are like very closely related symptoms with autism. And she's like one of my heroes. But yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because with it being Autism Awareness Month, that like one of the things that's upset me is like even now in today's modern day and age, we've still got so far to go with actually having awareness about autism. I mean, the fact that I've been in and out of mental health services my whole life and nobody ever picked up on it, ever. I was 34 when I got diagnosed. Proves that even in the mental health sector with professionals, it's still not a very recognizable condition. So, yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I actually put her link in the channel.
Oh, thanks, mate. Well, I posted one of her videos. It's the most important one to me, is like, what is autism to you? And it talks about what it means to be autistic from a subjective point of view. And I actually posted it on the Vin and Sori Village website ages ago, and I don't even think anyone noticed it except Carmen. Shout out to Carmen.
Carmen is like the mama. She notices everything.
Oh, I love Carmen so much. Like I'm going to also do a quick shout out to my alliance, because like we have got some of the best people in the car, yo. We're honestly some of the nicest people I've met.
Yeah.
We've got Carmen, Leah, Tina, Pony, Jay, Sarah, Becky. Honestly, I'm so glad to have met them. And we've become really good friends. But anyway, I'm going to go. I just wanted to throw that out there, and also to say hey, because we haven't talked in ages.
Yeah, buddy.
So, thanks for letting me call in, mate.
Much love to you, big homie.
Much love to you too, Vin. Bye.
Cool. It's good to hear. Good to hear his voice. Yeah, man. Everybody check out that site for sure. What's going on, Dirk? Dirk, I was just talking about my take on the Cardi B situation. You're probably not gonna like it, but it is what it is. What can you do? I know, Z, you don't call in anymore. You're too cool for school, or you're too busy moderating. Well, I mean, long story short, Dirk, is I don't feel much pity for a dude who was trying to exploit Cardi B, and she turned the tables and exploited him, and she used the dirty money to make herself a millionaire, and good for her. What she did was wrong, Absolutely wrong. Terrible. Just like drug dealing was wrong for Jay-Z to do. Terrible, terrible. Shouldn't have done it. But do I feel bad for the people that Cardi B drugged because they were going to a hotel to pay her for sex? No, I do not. So, there's that. You keep speaking the truth, Vin. I appreciate that, buddy. Who was the person? Cardi B and Nicki Minaj disgust me. Why does that not surprise me, Dan, that those two ladies would disgust you? That doesn't surprise me. Right, Judge Vin has spoken. That's it. Halas. That's it. It's over. Uh-oh, who's this? MDef fan? Or is this BM fan? Which fan am I talking to?
What's up? It's BM fan.
BM fan, what's up? How many poor old ladies wrapped in American flags have you assaulted today, BM fan?
None.
All right.
I just come back from playing some D&D though, so I punched rats.
We're making progress. Allahu Akbar. All right, man. What's up, bro? What's up?
Not much. I just figured I'd call in. I admittedly don't really have anything on my mind at the moment, so.
All right. Well. Now that I got you, because you're an AOC fan, right?
Yeah.
Do you think the Republicans are scared of her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're scared to death of her. MDef fan says they're
the
not.
only reason that they would constantly be talking about her
Saddam.
is because they're trying to create a fear of her.
Right. Yeah. Well, fear.
I mean, that's pretty obvious. The hilarity, though, is if you actually look at their coverage, like when they first started talking about AOC, they would list all of her platform, and you look at that platform, and you're like, "Is this an ad?"
Right. Right. Well, that's the thing. The Fox News people are so out of touch with reality that they really thought that those platforms were bad.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
For common people now, not people that work for Fox News. I'm talking about common people now. Most common people looked at that shit and was like, "Whoa!" If we could pull it.
The other thing you gotta keep in mind though is your I think the average age of your Fox viewer is 70.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, no, Bill O'Reilly's average viewer was 70 years old. I'm not sure what the actual Fox News viewer is though. I could actually look that up real quick.
Well, the news media does try to sensationalize candidates and tries to make them look at what they did with Beto.
It is 68.
I mean, that's not much different. I mean, 68 is basically 70, right? Good God. I mean, that's not a. What do you think about your friend Rachel Maddow and her Russia meltdowns, man?
I mean, I haven't followed Rachel since, oh God, back when I was in college. So over 5 years or so. So honestly, I don't have much to talk about. I mean, I know that she has been really hammering the whole Russia thing over and over again.
Yeah, she's crazy,
even
bro.
If you look at the Barr report, I mean, it does outright state that yes, Russia did stuff. The only question was the collusion or not.
Well, yeah, it's like I said in my video. We all know Russia, and we do it. We do it all over the place. That's the other thing.
We absolutely do it all over the place. We're doing it in Venezuela right now.
That's what I'm saying. Look what we're doing in Venezuela. We're not even pretending. And did you see everybody going after Tulsi? Because she's saying we're calling the wrong play in Venezuela. People are actually going after this woman, questioning her patriotism and her loyalty to this country after she's done. Who?
What did Tulsi say about Venezuela?
She's saying that we're doing the wrong thing over there, and among others.
I mean, yeah, trying to do regime change in Venezuela is not a good idea.
Doing regime change anywhere is not a good idea, unless the guy's
exactly
Hitler or something, and I guess that counted as regime change. But it's insane. It's like Tulsi went on The View a couple weeks back, and they were trying to imply that she was a traitor and all this. It's like, are you out of your mind? This woman did 2 tours of duty in Iraq as a medic.
If there are things to question Tulsi on, For instance, like she grew up in a deeply conservative family that was incredibly anti-LGBT. So she was also incredibly anti-LGBT up until like 6 years ago. To the point that her own Hawaii like LGBT organizations like will not still talk to her. They don't believe her basically that she's changed.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. I think that's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, okay, so we get Tulsi with one blemish, or we get who? Joe Biden?
Oh God, Biden is so bad.
No, like seriously,
Biden
like
is so bad.
In my opinion, and I'm not a Democrat. Everybody knows where I stand on a whole bunch of these issues, and so because of that, people would assume I'm a default Republican or whatever. But I am absolutely open to voting for Tulsi or Bernie. And so I think both of us are basically swing voters. And so like you put Tulsi on there, I'll give her a hearing. You put Bernie up there, I'll give him a hearing, but the rest of them, forget it. I'm not listening to nobody on the left side, bro, except for those two. So if you put Biden up there as your guy,
Trump will completely and utterly destroy Biden.
Oh, I agree.
There is no question. Like I'm sure you're probably familiar with all the creepy Biden memes.
Oh well, yeah. Well,
like,
I mean,
imagine that, except Trump is the one putting them everywhere.
Yeah.
All over the news, all over the TV, all over the commercials. Like, there is no freaking way that Biden can survive Trump.
I just think that I don't think any of them can survive Trump, aside from Bernie or Tulsi. I mean, what is Trump gonna? I mean, look, Trump already has a track record of going after veterans who've actually sacrificed for this country, right?
Oh yeah, he's done it multiple times.
Call McCain a loser and all this other shit. So, like, you do that shit to Tulsi, like, it's not. I don't think it's gonna go over well.
No, I would agree with that.
Because, when he did it to another Republican, and Republicans showed what type of class they have when they all fell in line with Trump after it was clear he was going to win.
Well, remember, though, like, he wasn't a Republican. He was a rhino.
I'm getting dragged here. Oh, look, googly-eyed Cory Booker. Get out. You mean Spartacus? You put Spartacus up there, or his friend Kamala Jussie Smollett Harris. No, I'm not voting for either one of those people. I see any of those people on the ticket. I'm telling you right now, BM fan, it's 4 more years. You put Bernie on, and you have Tulsi as your VP, and then you have that Andrew Yang guy as your economics whatever.
Yang is looking pretty interesting. Although it's really kind of weird how many like of the alt-right are kind of like pro-Yang right now.
Well, I don't know if you saw his interview with Jimmy Dore, but he said something really interesting, and Dore disagreed with him, but I think Yang is right, where he said, look, if we gave everybody $1,000 a month, we wouldn't need to worry about the fight for 15 or whatever. And I think that that's true, because I know, and it's funny because, Yang said if we synthetically raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour, some people are talking about, you're gonna murder these small business workers because they're just gonna fire them. And then Jimmy Dore is saying, oh, that's a Republican talking point. I'm like, no, it's facts, because I've seen it. It happened in Maine. They raised the minimum wage from $9 to $10, and freaking immediately I had this close friend that was working basically at this mom and pop store, and the owner with tears in her eyes had to let her go. So it's not a talking point. It's real shit. That's gonna happen.
I mean, the thing with that though is, so for instance, like the probably the most well-known instance of the minimum wage 15 is, I think, Seattle. And initially, some of the studies kind of indicated that they were bad. But the most recent study, I think from last year, seemed to indicate that it was actually a positive. There are, of course, going to be those people who have a bad time as a result of it, but overall, it is a boon.
What do you think, though, if everybody had $1,000 a month and we kept minimum wage at, what is it now? What's the federal?
I mean, my thought is, obviously, a UBI, like what Yang is calling for,
Yeah.
there are good and bad aspects to it. My perspective as someone who does not like capitalism is that UBI is basically like a Band-Aid to try and prevent revolution kind of thing. Ultimately, I would rather see democratization of the workplace. I'd rather see socialism. But at the same time, I don't think UBI is a bad thing.
Well, initially I was like, oh my gosh, this is just madness. But then he made a really good case. He was talking about a couple founding fathers who speculated about it.
UBI is generally a good, at least currently.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's onto something. But then, I haven't heard the counter argument as far as what that would do for inflation. Because if everybody's getting 1,000, go ahead.
So the problem is there are multiple economics, and if you're looking at something like that, you kind of have to look at it from the perspective of MMT, is modern monetary theory, which is things like inflation are kind of less of an issue in that particular school, I guess.
Well, that's a philosophical position, but I mean, in the real world, if everybody's got $1,000 a month, you're not going to have rent at $500 a month anymore. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of the same thing with Bernie. I was everybody's like, "Yo, how are you going to pay for this?" And basically said, "Well, we'll figure it out as we go along." I'm like, I feel like Bernie's.
For instance, if you're MMT, our MMT is that free taxes, because the government should theoretically just be able to pay for everything. At least when I say the government, I specifically mean the United States, because the United States is basically the only country that is capable of doing these things. One basically uses our money.
Right.
The world will fall apart if people stop.
Yep.
So no matter how much stuff that we do, nothing's really going to make other countries decide, we're going to stop buying American dollars.
Yeah. I mean,
that's kind of the general idea behind MMT.
Is that a risk you're willing to take?
I mean, it's that or everything kind of stays the same, which is not really a good spot either. Also,
right.
Yes, I have a really bad cough right now.
Yeah, the village is gonna socially. They're gonna
get me cough drops.
Yeah, they're gonna socialistically raise you cough drops, or capitalistically give you a cough drop and then send you a bill for $4,000. This is highway freaking robbery. I don't understand how people can say that, taxation or socialism is theft or whatever, and they're okay with.
Can I briefly talk about socialism again?
Well, yeah, I think you're gonna have to do it every time you get on. But to me,
pretty much.
Hold on for a second. To me, okay. If I keep hearing that this dude Jeff Bezos doesn't pay any taxes, like this is crazy to me. Or he's being taxed the hell out of $100 for a pill. Like that's okay, but taxation is theft. Okay, all right. Go ahead, you're up.
All right, so the general idea behind socialism is, as I've said in the past, it's social ownership of the means of production. Now, a really simple way to understand that is the democratization of companies. So imagine every single corporation, every single business ran collectively, ran democratically. So you can do this in the forms of co-ops, which are probably the most famous or well-known form of socialism. Co-ops can be either everyone within the company, within the business, basically shares their wages. So everyone basically makes more or less the same. Whether you're higher in the company or lower, everyone makes about the same amount of money. The alternative is you have a However, the board of directors is subject to the employees. The employees have a say in who is on the board of directors. If they are not happy with the direction of the company, they can remove them.
Yeah, but you still there? Where'd he go? You still there, buddy? Hey, you still there?
Yep.
So I wanted to talk to you about that. Like, do you believe that a person who opens up a small business, grinds, does all the terrible hard work that you have to do to make a small business successful, and then he starts employing people, what you should have just say that's what happened in business?
I mean, ultimately, yeah.
That's crazy. I could never co-sign something like that because
the reality is that those employees are the ones making profit for the other individual, and like I still don't like they're participating in giving this guy wealth, so
well,
they should have a say.
I don't see how that works, bro. So the guy who sacrifices time with his family, works 16, 18 hours to get his business to the point where he now has to hire other people. Those random people off the street should have just as much say as the guy who started the company and did all those sacrifices and took all those risks.
I mean, yeah, I still think so.
That's
because
crazy, bro. That is madness. That is absolute that's crazy. You got to admit that's crazy, BM fan.
I mean, not really.
I don't see you don't see how that's not fair.
I mean, you're portraying it in a manner as if this entire business is just two people right now.
No, I'm portraying it as every small business owner that I know has grinded like crazy, worked ridiculous hours, sacrificed time with their spouses and children, have put up the risk. The other factor is a risk because most small businesses fail. So put up their own capital for risk. And then, in the qadar of Allah, they end up being blessed and the business starts taking off. Now they got to hire some people. And you're telling me some snot-nosed 19-year-old who just got done playing Fortnite for 18 hours a day, he should have as much say as the guy who did all that to start the business?
I mean...
does that make sense to you?
I mean, I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. Well, my issue is that will never happen.
My thought is I believe that a workplace should be democratic.
Okay, that's where I diverge with you. Because I have been here's the thing, I've been all 3 or 4 of those positions. I've been the snot-nosed kid who got off the street and was offered an opportunity to have a job, right? Then I've been a hiring manager who has seen a bunch of snot-nosed kids, jack off at work and do stupid shit and steal from the company and still keep their jobs because, certain states have pro-employee whatever when they...
Well, keep in mind, people that typically do that kind of stuff is generally because they feel that their pay isn't worth it.
No. People that do that stuff are people that are deviant and have a sense of entitlement. They feel entitled. A lot of these people feel entitled to the things that people that have worked harder than... Like, what is my motivation to start a small business? Put up all that risk, lose all that time with my family... if my business can then be basically stolen from under me by some 19-year-old snot-nosed kid? Why would I open a small business then?
Again, we're talking about democratic. So it wouldn't... So like, what I'm trying to perceive this. So in your in your hypothetical, what kind of co-op is this business?
What do you mean?
Is this one where the wages are shared, or one where there's a board of directors?
Well, I think in any business, wages are shared. Otherwise, people aren't getting paid, right? No, like nobody's working for free.
Okay. For instance, because the pretty stereotypical notion of this kind of thing is the whole wage inequality. Like CEOs nowadays make like 2,000% more than like their lowest employees, things like that.
Yeah. What about it?
Do you think that's good? Do you think they're entitled to make 2,000% more money than the people that they're paying on the bottom?
I think it incentivizes people to become CEOs themselves. But I'll tell you right now. But the reality is that that so few people are going to do that. Oh, I know a few people are going to do that, but
and that's the problem with capitalism, because capitalism is basically people just like kind of like it's like you play the game in the hope that you too will get lucky and be able to become a capitalist, and so you kind of just play the game and you hope and you pray that you'll be better off.
All right, hold on for a second. We got to give a shout out to the big homie Sarcast. He just won Vingo. I don't know what I said that he made him win Vingo, but he just won. So shout out to the big homie. I would have given you all of your winnings, but Cardi B stole half of it, and then the 19-year-old snot-nosed kid who plays Fortnite for 18 hours a day, he stole the other half. But congratulations, Sarcast. Now let's go back in here for a second. BM fan, are you saying that people are going to be that the incentive that's not going to de-incentivize people to open small businesses?
I mean, I don't really. How can I put this? I just don't really believe in those notions of like incentivizing and entitlement. I think if you have an idea and you want to go through with it, you should go through with it. Not because, I'm going to become rich. It should just be something for the greater good.
BM fan, come on, bro. Like, let's operate. If we're going for the greater good, we wouldn't have 60 million dead kids, right? And I know you don't.
If we were going for the greater good, we wouldn't have capitalism.
Okay, so you've got to. I don't care what your philosophical system is. You have to account for human selfishness, human sinfulness, whatever you want to characterize it as. We've never seen any time in human history where everybody collectively just worked for the good of the other guy. So
I mean, the problem there is so much of the world really or human history has revolved around concepts of scarcity.
Yeah.
So, for instance, capitalism itself has done good things, and so, for instance, because you like to bring up the USSR and things like that. Obviously, the USSR and all that stuff, or Mao and whatnot, those were bad things. But part of the reason that they were so bad was that they didn't actually have the infrastructure to actually accomplish any of the things that theoretically they could have done before they went to totalitarian mess.
Yeah, but this is my problem when I run into my socialist friends is that I'm not hearing the real world solution here. What I'm getting from you is, well, you shouldn't start a business to want to get rich. Everybody starts a business because they want wealth. What are you talking about? You know how much money, you know how much personal capital, before, and we're very grateful for Patreon, but, we didn't start going green or black on Patreon until very recently. We spent a ton of money on cameras and computers and shit. Like, we invested a ton of our own personal capital into what we're trying to create here.
Which I hope you wrote off as business expenses.
We did. But you're trying to tell me that a person who is going to do that, take those risks, all because he wants to contribute to the greater good, and you're saying that's not gonna disincentivize people to continue to do that?
I mean, I still don't see that. It's, for instance, like there's an argument which I again don't believe that UBI will disincentivize people from still working. And I think that's idiotic.
Well, I think it's idiotic because at the end of the day, everybody's going to have $1,000, and so inflation's going to kick in. I don't really see what the UBI is going to do to really change life for anybody. I think rent's going to go from $500 to $1,200 because now everybody knows you've got $1,000 in the bank. So I know you can afford it. So a lot of these solutions to me like don't account for the real world, and that's why you get people getting killed en masse in a communist construct, because it doesn't account for the fact that there's going to be a whole slew of people that don't want to play ball with you. I think that in order for the real like hardcore socialism or the socialism that you're advocating for to really take root, is you've got to convince people that you've got a real world scenario that accounts for human nature. And if you're honestly trying to tell me that a person is going to take those risks, make those sacrifices to their family, so that some punk kid who has no work ethic whatsoever can have just as much say in his business, you're trying to tell me that that's not going to affect the amount of people that go out for that type of a venture. Honestly.
Personally, I don't see that, no.
I'm not talking about what you would do personally. I'm talking about the real world.
I mean, I can only tell you what I personally think.
I'm going to tell you what I wouldn't do that shit, BM fan. I would not. If all the time that I spend away from my kids, that my wife right now is editing videos. I could be playing Fortnite with my kids and all the other shit. We're making a ton of sacrifices in order to create a small business that I can then pass on to them. If you told me that, yeah, Vin, you're going to do all this work and then some snot-nosed 19-year-old kid is going to be able to tell you with your company, I said, get the fuck out of here. I'm not doing that shit.
Also, Kyle, yeah, it is actually it, and that's actually what Marx said.
It sounds like he's saying socialism works as if you do it off the backs of those who are successful thanks to capitalism.
You need to have that infrastructure.
So you're talking about taking...
You can't just go from, like, feudal, like, rural Russia or whatever into immediate, like, communism. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I'm telling you that I would not make those sacrifices if that was the eventuality. I would not create a small business eventuality. And none of the people that I know that have started small businesses and made those sacrifices would do that. So you're not taking into account the real world. Have you done a small business? Have you started a small business, BM fan?
I have not.
So then you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, I love you, but you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't made those sacrifices. So how can you say what those other people would do?
I mean, I can't say what they would do. I can just say what I would do.
Well, no, you can't say what you would do.
If someone handed me a piece of shit, I could tell you, you don't think I would eat that piece of shit. I don't need someone to actually hand me a piece of shit to be able to answer that question.
Yeah, I don't think that's the same thing, bruh. I hear what you're saying, but I think that this is never, ever going to take off unless y'all find a way to appeal to actual real people. Because...
And I mean, there are co-ops. Like, co-ops aren't like a pie-in-the-sky idea. There are multiple co-op type businesses already in existence.
Well, fine. But the silly situation where the snot-nosed, lazy-ass 19-year-old gets to tell the person
I'm still not sure how this works out.
What do you mean?
It doesn't.
What are you talking about?
I don't understand how this quote-unquote snot-nosed 19-year-old has equal say.
Well, that was what I was asking you. I asked you a clarifying question.
I mean, like I told you, there are generally two forms of co-ops. There's one, all wages are shared, or B, there is a board of directors,
well,
and the employees have the board of directors.
What does that mean? Because all wages are already shared. That's why people get paid.
Wages are shared more equally.
Okay. That's the rub. And to what degree of equal are we talking about? Like the guy who started the business gets an equal wage as the snot-nosed 19-year-old?
If in co-op, yeah.
That's crazy, man.
I mean, there are multiple co-ops who do this. It's
Who?
not, and these co-ops didn't just like, you know what? I'm not going to start this co-op business.
Who?
Because I don't have the incentive or whatever.
Who? Who are these co-ops that you're talking about? I want to look them up right now.
Google up co-ops.
Bro, so you don't have an actual case study for me?
I mean, I could, if you want, we could reconvene later.
Well,
and I could go look up more studies on co-ops.
Look, I'm the one that I've walked around here and I've called myself a socialist, and I've been extremely critical of capitalism. Okay, so I'm begging to be converted here. The problem that I'm having though is what you're talking about is crazy to me. Like, even on a moral level, do you think that's right? Some wacky kid is getting paid as much as a person who's started the business? Like, do you even think that that's okay? How is that okay? Are you there?
I'm just reading up on co-ops.
Like, do you really think that that's?
I mean, yeah.
That's crazy to me, bro.
I mean, like I said, I don't buy into the notion of like incentive and entitlement and all that kind of stuff. To me, is if you're working within that company or whatever, you should be entitled to your pay.
Nobody is saying that you shouldn't get paid if you work. But what you told me is that that they're owed the equal of the employer. Did I understand that right?
More or less, yeah.
That's okay. So then you do believe in entitlement. You believe that this snot-nosed kid who hasn't educated himself, hasn't grinded, hasn't worked hard, calls out every other day, 15 minutes late a day to work. You think that kid should have as much wealth from the business as a guy who started the business?
I think just because a guy started a business doesn't entitle him to be able to make such more of a profit than his employees.
It absolutely does.
That's we're just gonna completely disagree on that.
I'll tell you why it absolutely does. Because if it wasn't for that guy sacrificing his time with his family and everything else, then the 40, 50 people that he employed wouldn't have a job.
And if he didn't have those 40 and 50 employees, then he wouldn't have any money.
No, he would still have money. He just wouldn't have as much. He'd still have money. I don't have any employees. We generate income. But the bigger and bigger we get, then we're gonna need more people. But I'll be damned if some and look, I'm speaking as a person who's in it. You're not in it. So you have non-small business owner privilege. BM fan, you're speaking from your position of privilege. And by the way, have you thought of the racial ramifications of what you're talking about? So here I am as a black man, and I'm grinding, I'm slaving away, and then I hire some white 19-year-old kid, and that kid is now going to have as much money as me? Like, do you think you don't have any problem there?
You're putting you're thinking in terms of capitalism.
No, I'm thinking in terms of when you work hard. Like, okay, so I got 3 kids, right?
I think you're too into like the Protestant work ethic right now.
Yes, I am.
That's the problem.
I'm a Protestant.
I think that's terrible. That's the problem.
You think
like, we're not gonna agree on this. Like it's just we have just completely different.
What's your work ethic? You think people should be able to sit down and play Fortnite all day and have a decent living wage, come into work whenever they want? Like, do you really believe that?
Not quote unquote come into work whenever you want. But I do think everyone should have a living wage.
Even if they refuse to work.
If they are unable to work.
Okay, unable to work, we co-sign. What about people who refuse to work? What about their wages?
I mean, it would depend on what their reason to refuse to work was.
I don't want to work. Fortnite's more entertaining.
Well, I mean, under a circumstance like that would kind of be where UBI would come in.
So you do believe we should finance lazy bastards who won't work?
I mean, it's an idea. It's better you let them die.
That is crazy, bro.
I mean, what do you think? It's
Huh?
that or you let them die. Because
No.
if you don't have money, you die.
No, they won't.
Yes?
No, they won't die. What they'll do is they'll realize, well, shit, playing 18 hours of Fortnite a day is not productive. I need to go out there and get a fucking job. I can't believe we're even disagreeing on this. How is this possible? How are we? This is like when I talk to people and they don't believe in university. I'm genuinely confused about how this is even a topic. Are you honestly saying we need to subsidize people who refuse to work and play video games all day?
I mean, I'm not saying that. But, for instance, since earlier you were talking about UBI and whatnot, UBI is a form of that.
Yeah, and what I said was, does it account for inflation? And you basically said, well, not really. Yeah, my problem with a lot of this is, BM fan, I agree with a lot of the sentiments, right? Like, I want everybody to take care of each other and yada, yada, yada. And I don't believe that I should be making, let's say, Vin and Sori became a, multi-million-dollar enterprise. I wouldn't be paying anybody minimum wage. But I don't believe that they should be anywhere near me either. Because I've got kids that I missed out on a lot of moments on because I'm doing this shit that he didn't have to make that sacrifice. So I'm not going to pay him, nothing. But she's definitely not getting anything close to what I'm making. Hell no. But you're talking about even worse. What you're talking about is is this true, or was this because this will bring us full circle back to my AOC question. Is it true that AOC was included in her Green New Deal something about people who will not work, like subsidizing them?
In one of the earlier drafts, they had included a UBI type thing, but that was not the final draft.
Okay. Yeah. See.
That was so originally, I guess, when they rolled out the Green New Deal or whatever. I guess one of her staffers accidentally sent out the old draft and not the updated one.
Okay. So the updated one has a more realistic one that everybody can co-sign because again, I'm kind of, I can go with a Tulsi or a Bernie or whatever, but it's gotta operate in the real world. And what you're talking about is not the real world, bro. You think you're going to be able to convince America to subsidize somebody's Fortnite habit?
I think you're too caught up in capitalist ideas. There's a pretty good book called Capitalist Realism.
It's called Personal Responsibility, Ben.
The opening line of Capitalist Realism is, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than the end of capitalism. And I think you would agree with that.
No, I think that's silly. So
you can imagine the capitalism ending more easily than a nuke going off and destroying us and mad.
Oh, for sure. That's not even on the same stratosphere for me, my guy. First of all, BM fan, as a post-millennialist, I believe that the economic system that we will have in 100 years is going to be far superior to capitalism. I don't believe that capitalism is an eternal reality. But I also know that the shit you're talking about is crazy because there's no element of personal responsibility. You're conflating personal responsibility with capitalism. Look, bro, if me and you are in a jungle, right? And we work out a schedule to where, okay, look, bro, between 2 and 3 p.m., we got to go gather some oranges, right? So otherwise we'll die. If I'm out there and I'm grinding and I'm killing snakes and shit to get our oranges, and I look behind me and you're just sitting on your ass in the beach, guess what's gonna happen when I show up with the oranges?
No.
You're not getting shit, bro. That's not capitalism. That's you didn't pull your weight. That's you didn't pull your weight. That's what that is. That's not capitalism.
What if he had a bum leg?
Bro, that's different. You got a bum leg, I got you. But if you're completely healthy, but you decided that you wanted to play tic-tac-toe all day with your girlfriend while I'm getting these oranges, you know what I'm saying? No, bro, y'all ain't getting shit from me. And I love you. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to get hungrier and hungrier. One of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to make a fatal mistake, physical with me to take my oranges from me, or you're going to say, shit, I need to go out to the jungle and collect some oranges. That's personal responsibility. That's not capitalism.
See, I don't. The personal rescibility meme, it's just
Stop saying meme. BM fan, man. Stop being a rhetorician and deal with the real world, please. Seriously now.
It's a pretty heavy duty meme.
Okay.
You gotta admit that.
No, I don't admit it, BM fan, because are you honestly saying that I am obligated to give you those oranges? Like, it's cool for you to sit down there and not pull your weight? Is that what you're saying?
You need to think of things in perspective of society as a whole, not like two people.
Answer my question, BM fan. Do you think that it's I'm obligated to give you the oranges even though you refuse to pull your weight?
In the context which you're referring to, no.
Okay, so then
in the context of society and government, yes.
Well, wait a second. I need you to explain to me why you said no. Why no?
Let me think. From a... let me think. All right, you got me.
Okay, so look, if me and you are on the island and while you're going for the oranges, you get bit by a snake and you somehow get captured, then I believe I'm morally obligated to take care of you. I don't think it's right for me to, hey, you chose to go into the jungle and you got bit by a snake, so that's your fault. You should have been more careful. You know, that's the moral, that's the personal responsibility meme that I hear all the time from people when we talk about.
Responsibility meme that I hear, for instance, idea of bootstraps.
Right, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, blah, blah, blah.
Which is that I absolutely disagree with.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I disagree with that because the economic infrastructure was built on free labor. We know that, right? So I don't believe that the people in power, economic power in this country, for the most part, did it just because they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. I don't believe that. I also don't believe this whole look. I don't even care. I don't care if you smoked your entire life and got yourself lung cancer, which is technically your fault. I still don't care. We need to subsidize healthcare. Period. That's not the same thing to me as on my ass while everybody else works and pulls. Totally to me. Those aren't the same thing. So what I'm saying is I need somebody to come up with some form of socialism as lazy motherfuckers taking the capital from other people who are working their asses off. Because if it's that simple, then shit, I don't need to work 2 jobs for 16 hours a day. Fucking 7 days a week, bro. I can hang out with my family and play Fortnite all day. See what I'm saying?
I mean, like, part of the idea behind UBI is so to have the opportunity to do things that they would want to do that isn't, say, working 40 hours a week or something plus.
Right. I get that idea. I just haven't heard Yang talk about the inflation fallout, which in my mind, and maybe that's because I'm thinking like a capitalist, I'll give you that. But in my mind, the first thing that comes to my mind is good idea, but then there is inflation to think. Here's an actual question.
Like UBI studies that they've done. And they have generally just been straight up positive. I mean, I could try looking up like UBI inflation.
Well,
see if we can find some arguments.
Well, one of the things I'd like to know is, do we have countries that have, or nation states that have initiated UBI that we can look at?
There's a few that have tried referendums, and the people have actually said no.
Well,
I think there were a few that tried to do like a referendum to pass UBI, and the people actually said no.
what? Because they already had, because they were socialist countries, I'm assuming they already had.
No.
Or no,
they were. I think mostly were social democracies.
Okay.
Finland, for instance. Probably a few others.
Finland said no. Now, is Finland a socialist state or a?
It's some.
And is that different from the socialism you're talking about?
Yes. The I'm talking about is democratic.
Okay. So
here's another quick So Bernie Sanders calls himself a democratic socialist.
Yes.
He is not a democratic socialist. He is a social democrat. This is in a Sanders wording. He is not a democratic socialist. He is a democrat. A social democrat is basically what Europe is, Scandinavia. Like those are all social democrats.
Okay.
So which
those
also Venezuela also social
democracies voted against UBI.
The few that I remember, we got stuff actually. Get you some.
I just want people to stop robbing my hard-earned money to support lazy people and making where I support others. That's true though, bro. BM fan, you gotta bro. We can't be financing Fortnite players. Like that's crazy. You know that's crazy, bro. Finland beats the USA hands for education. Everybody beats the education. That's why we got DeVos in the world, so that we can solidify our spot or whatever it is we are. Like the worst, aren't we like the worst first world nation for education? Aren't we like the worst first world nation for education?
I think we're in 14th place. Are we 14th healthcare?
We got DeVos in there saying that we... Did you see that video I shot about DeVos?
I did. That's the one that I left that comment on.
It's like what the hell? The budget would be saying, hey, you can't cut education. You want your education secretary to be biased. 2 years in a row, education secretary.
This is from 10, so this is like so old, but the U.S. is 14th, and Finland was in second at the time, with South Korea first.
We got DeVos is going to turn that around for us, BM fan.
Because that's all she fucking wants. But did you see her summer?
Oh yeah, was that you? It's that?
No, someone else, I think.
Well, is it me who said this is where she lives? And then nah, I'm playing with you. This is her...
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I'm not mad at somebody for being rich. Because at the end of the day, it's like you are to the rest of the world. So being rich doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that you have these politicians who make these moves that are clearly political, and then good people get sacrificed. Now, I know a lot of hoods that can use a 12% increase on education spending. I know a lot of hoods that could benefit from that, but
well, education spending?
I think I have general understanding, but keep going.
So for instance, like when you're saying like those that need education, you're saying how those areas their education funds.
Yeah, get those. That's straight from the federal government on the test scores, right?
It's turning area. So if you're in a worse area that has lower property taxes, then the schools are basically just going to be worse.
Right. Okay.
Which, yeah, so I absolutely think that areas like those absolutely need increased funding on those schools. Now, there are studies that have shown that sometimes that just isn't enough. So you'll have to look into other matters. And honestly, this is also kind of goes back to that whole kind of personal responsibility thing. So, like, the way that I
Okay.
I think the way I see everything is you have A, B, C, D that leads towards Y or something. So if we know that each of these things has a role to play in, result X or result Y, our goal should be to pinpoint these A, B, C, Ds and to alleviate them.
Right.
And so one example of that would be things like education funding. Obviously, a better education funding doesn't necessarily alleviate B, C, D, and E or whatever, but it helps.
I agree with that. I agree with a lot of what you say, BM. I think that you're not taking into account human nature.
And it's very possible.
It is, because I love you and I love your ideas, but I'll be damned if I let some little snot-nosed kid could have any sort of control in my business. Hell no. That's not happening.
I mean, in that case, you're probably not a democratic socialist, but you do absolutely seem to be a social democrat.
Is there no way to combine socialism? So basically, you're proving MDEFN right. There's no way to be a socialist that believes in a Protestant work ethic?
Certainly not to the degree that things exist in the current way.
And
no matter what, wages would have to be spread out more evenly. Maybe not, they don't have to be perhaps the exact same. So like the highest person makes the same as the lowest person, but at the very least they wouldn't be making 2,000% more.
So what's his name? Tim Cook from Apple.
Tim Apple, you mean?
Huh?
Tim Apple.
Did he change his name?
No, Trump called him Tim Apple.
Oh my God. All right, hold on for a sec. Just call the play. Are we going to see the thing or no?
We need to discuss what we do.
Well, we're an hour away. So.
Yeah. We've got 23 videos that we have to upload. We can't do any more recording until those get uploaded because I can't move them. So I don't know if you want... I don't know why they're not uploading right now. I'm having a real hard time. I don't know if it's because you're live streaming.
It's the internet's getting pretty hammered right now.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Weren't we supposed to get that fiber thing?
It's not... They don't have it yet.
Okay, so you don't look like you want to go to the movie.
Well, I think that what we need to do is you need to
It's that pro-life. It's that pro-life movie, babe. They're gonna have that thing out in a second. You know how these people are. They won't even let them advertise on Twitter.
But
Evil ass.
We've got work that we have to get done, and we cannot continue our work until those are uploaded.
So you don't want to see the pro-life movie. You don't love babies.
You're trapping me in a corner right now.
Okay,
I'm Deaf
fan. You're my witness. This actually looks pretty cool, like the way this lighting is, because I don't have the computer on. Look at this. I'm just like in the... Talk to me, big homie. Isn't that cool? It's like
yeah,
I'm in a black vortex here.
Let's see what
Cardi B is stealing the bandwidth. People are mad at me because I'm not mad at Cardi B.
Oh, he has a little fetish with her. I think.
See, BM, you hearing this, BM Finn? I don't have nothing for Cardi B. Okay.
No, it's just, and I kind of see where he's coming from. It's just that, those guys were going to that strip club because they were going to capitalize off of her horrible past, and she just found a way to get back. And I don't think comparing that, and have you seen the comparisons where they're comparing that situation with
Bill Cosby?
Bill Cosby. That's not the
Bullshit.
same thing.
No, there is absolutely a massive false dichotomy between people comparing someone being drugged and robbed and someone being drugged and raped. There is a significant false dichotomy, and it's a really fucked up false dichotomy too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't feel any pity for those dudes whatsoever. Well, I told them about that girl around where we live, where she got a small business loan, and then she was able to become a millionaire off of it. You know, she started her own business. But according to BM Fan, tell Sori what you believe. So here you are up. We shot all these videos, worked our asses off. He believes that if we, like, let's say Vid and Sori became like this multi-million-dollar empire, right? He believes that if we hired some 19-year-old off the street who plays Fortnite for 18 hours a day, that guy should be making just as much as we do.
No, that's crazy. You don't know the sacrifices we've made. The stress I've endured. I'm probably going to birth this child early because of all that.
Tell him, Sori. Go ahead, BM Fan. And he goes, you're too caught up in your Protestant work ethic, he says. Damn right. I'm working 2 jobs, BM Fan.
I know. And homeschooling 4 kids.
What the hell is wrong with you? According to Vin, the guys were asking for it. They were asking for it. Sarcast. They were asking for her body. They wanted to exploit her body. And it just so happened that the young lady turned the tables and exploited them. I don't feel bad for those guys.
If anyone's actually curious, there's a really good YouTuber named Bo of the Fifth Column, who did a really good video, a short one on the Cardi B thing. I would recommend watching that.
Thank you for coming into my live stream and advertising somebody else.
You know what's funny? When you started saying it, I was going to go, bah! But I didn't really care.
Here it is right here. Bo of the Fifth Column. I'm actually... Oh, this guy. I know this guy.
Yeah, he does really, really good content. And his videos are usually really, really short, too.
Yeah, let's talk about Cardi B. There it is. Boom. I just posted it.
So if anyone in the chat, I would definitely highly recommend checking out that channel. He does really good stuff.
What happened? You talked about pulling your own weight. What's that? What?
Well, we were talking about...
Or were you saying I'm not pulling my own?
Well, he was saying...
As you're in here
just
visiting people and I'm working.
BM Fan was saying that personal responsibility is like capitalism. I said, that's not capitalism. That's just personal responsibility. But
what? I don't understand what that's supposed to mean.
We had a giant jihad. It was great. You know, BM Fan's my guy. But he always comes with like crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like we need to beat up people for their ideas and shit.
Who's the one that said BJJ? Is that him?
Nah, that's Dan.
Oh.
Dan got in here and accused me of calling him a racist. I never called you a racist, Dan.
Does Vin pull his weight? Vin pulls his own weight. Sometimes I feel so guilty because he like pulls so much of the weight. But I just don't think I can do more.
Where's your Centoya Brown sympathy because the murder aspect? How is Cardi B any better? Because Cardi B didn't murder anyone. Cardi B didn't murder the guy. She just took his money that he was going to give to her anyway in exchange for her body. That's not the same thing as murder. This girl murdered that guy.
Yeah.
I've been pretty consistent with this stuff. You got to admit.
Oh, yeah. Vin. Zonia's been mentioning, since what was it? Since you guys did that catharsis video, Zonia's been wanting to chat with you guys about anarchy.
Yes. We also shot another video about anarchy, too. So maybe we can have a column. Okay, guys, I got to get out of here because we got to figure out what we're going to do because I still love babies. Sori doesn't. Might have to do it.
What are you talking about? I just know that
the old Sori would have been like, yes, let's go. It's a pro-life movie.
This Sori has done for maternity. I can get an interview with that girl.
Talking to her on Twitter. But we have to watch the movie first. See, this is why.
So you understand that we won't be able
Then
to.
you get people like BM Fan.
until
They're
we
like, you
upload.
shouldn't have an opinion. You don't have a uterus. Yeah, haven't you said that to me before, BM Fan? You don't have a uterus. You can't say anything. So I want to have you, Albany Rose. I'm going to get a bunch of uteruses in one room.
Oh my gosh.
Or would it be uteri, BM Fan?
I don't have a clue.
I think it would
But
be
hey,
uteri.
you shouldn't actually use that kind of language because that's not inclusive to trans women.
Are you being serious right now?
Yes and no. Partially.
I'm talking about
the
specifically the abortion discussion. But okay, we're gonna have an anarchy fireside next time, it would basically nobody will be leading anything. We'll just randomly call and talk about shit, and nobody will be the master of ceremonies because we're gonna have actual anarchy. All right, and we have Patreon songs that we owe. So.
Yeah, see? And Damon, we can't do any more videos until I get